Hey guys, here's another one of those quick topic videos. So I'm cruising around today when I come across this information on Facebook that did not surprise me at all, but brings me back to a topic that we've talked about multiple times on podcasts. I've brought it up over and over, and this is no different. This is exactly what I've been talking about. It's finally happening. They are shutting down the PSP Marketplace, which also means, if you didn't know, the PSP Marketplace, if I'm not mistaken, is tied to the PlayStation 3 Marketplace, which means the PlayStation 3 Marketplace is just about on the edge of being no more. And you imagine that means that all the marketplaces for things like 360 and whatnot are going to be right behind it. This is it. We're at the point, if I'm wrong, and it's just the PSP market area, things like that, and the Vita and whatnot, which I believe, like I said, is tied to the PlayStation 3 marketplaces. Maybe they're separate entities, but I tend to remember buying things on the PlayStation 3 that would automatically give me the Vita game and vice versa, so I'm guessing that they were tied together. Now, regardless of whether I'm wrong about that piece of information or not, that doesn't matter. What matters is that we're here. We're at that moment. We're at the closing of those marketplaces, and this is where it all comes down, man. This is where I said it over and over again, and I stuck to it, and I swear by it, and I'm telling you, I know I'm right. Guys, in terms of retro gaming, which I'm into, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 are about to enter that marketplace, that phase where where they become the worst retro gaming era of our generation, of our world, of our life. I really believe it. I believe the worst retro experience is going to be the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and it's because of business practices that they are still doing today that we simply let happen. Guys, when games are released and they are unfinished, we could shrug our shoulders because they're going to finish it in post. They're going to give us updates, day 1 updates, day 2 updates, 1 month update, 4-month update. They're going to, sooner or later, they're going to fix the glitches that make games like Sphinx completely unplayable once you get to level 3 and for some reason you pick up the key but the door never shows up so you can't actually leave and you're just fucked and you can't play the game until they updated it later on and now you actually can do it and now you can play the game. Well, look, when the markets go down, those updates, those upgrades, those things that existed, like when I went back to my Nintendo, I put Mega Man 2 in, and Mega Man 2 worked. It was that simple. It was that simple. Nothing to it. I didn't even have to ask. It worked. I just knew that it was going to work. I turned it on. It worked exactly like it did all those years back when I first played it all those years ago. But some of these games, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that because we've been playing, like, you play version 1.5.5.2 or some shit like that. You don't play the actual intended release of that game. You almost never do. Very few people actually played the games without any form of update whatsoever. They just didn't do it. So now we're coming across this time when those updates are going to be gone. And companies aren't going to go out of their way to provide those updates. And there's going to be certain things that you simply will not be able to get as the marketplaces go down. And I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm not talking about next month. I'm talking about all the kids that were born and started playing Xbox 360, PS3, the kids that came up in those eras, just like we did with Nintendo. You were about 5 years old with your Nintendo, you're about 5 years old with your Xbox 360. Now, wind the clock forward. Quite a bit, by the way. We're talking like wind up to 30 years from now. You're 35 years old. Gaming will have changed quite significantly, and you'll be at a point where you're like, man, I'm going to go out to this cool thrift store thing, and you're going to find an Xbox 360, and you're going to like, dude, that system was sick. I can't even tell you how much time I blew on that system. Like, I remember playing this, remember playing this, holy shit, so good. And you're going to get these games, and you're going to play them, and some of them will not feel the same as they did back then. And it won't be a nostalgia thing that's ruining your memory. It will not be a nostalgia thing. It'll be the fact that the games are, in fact, different. They're not updated. You're going to put the game in, you're going to hit play, it's going to start. It's not going to search or anything like that because it won't connect to a marketplace. It'll be taken off of that kind of thing. So it won't be connected to the marketplace, and there's no reason to hook it up to the internet, and you will be playing the base games. And half these games, more than half these games, damn it, almost every single game on this shelf required a day one update for it to play properly. And some of those games, you had to connect to the internet to even turn the fucking game on. Like Gundam games, Bandai games that require you to sign a type of user agreement and then be like, then it has to link up and it has to go to this fucking thing where it says yada yada communicates with the internet. When those go down, when those check systems go down, if you tell those games no, that you do not submit to so-and-so, yada yada, you're not going to sign into their waiver form, the game just shuts off. It just shuts off. There are Dragon Ball Z games that I've done it with just to be sure. I put it in, it started, it gave me that big long thing, I scrolled down to the bottom and I said decline, and it went boop and turned off. And I had another problem years ago with the same kind of thing. Once again, a Bandai game, it was a Gundam game, I'm not going to claim to remember what it was. But I remember I turned it on, and then I went down to the bottom of the thing, and I said accept, and then it said that it needed an internet connection. And I didn't have one. Not at the time. I had just moved into my new place, and I wouldn't have internet for like 2 weeks. And fuck me, I can't play it. These are the business practices that we allowed during that course of the generation that are going to come back to bite the retros in the ass. Because look, guys, retros exist. I'm fucking one of them. I have Super Nintendo games that I play. I have Nintendo games that I play. I have Sega CD games that I play. I have Xbox originals. I have PlayStation 2s. Okay? I have original PlayStation up at the top there. I have all these games, and every single one of them I go through every now and then, and I look over the entire collection and I say, do I actually need this game? Do I give a shit? Will I ever actually play this? And sometimes it's a no and I get rid of a game, and sometimes it's a yes and I put that bitch back in and I play it again. And you know what? It's going to be interesting to see how this affects their retro experience, because going back may be a very different thing for them than it was for us. I know that my PlayStation, if the game is bad, if I'm like, wow, this shit did not age well, that's because it didn't age well. It is exactly the game that I played back when I played it all those years ago when I turned it on. But when you turn on, I don't even know. You know what? When you turn on Mass Effect, years from now, many, many years from now, and you say, dude, that game was sick. Remember that game? Oh my God, dude, if you never played this game, you got to try this thing out. And you go home and you turn it on, and there's some significant issues that you're like, I don't remember it being like this. Honestly, I don't. I guess my nostalgia ran away with me. Maybe the game isn't quite what I remember. No. It may very well be what you remember. But none of these games, literally none of them, are exactly what you remember. Because they fix little game glitches and bugs and playability and just little bitty things that you never had to think about, like small glitches in startup menus, the way that the game processes information and things like that so that the engine runs a little better and things like all that shit is gone. You're going to play the original base game, what was actually released, what was rushed out on the market that they could fix in post, and damn it, it's going to be interesting to see what happens now that those updates are not available. Well, regardless, just something to think about. Later on, guys.